Okay, you wanted to go over some of the problems specific to this test that's in your book that the school did pay for. So we have made pictures of it to be able to do it from home. And I wanted to mention things. Any page you want to just freeze so you can look at the answer keys here. This student did a great job showing all their work. Okay, so number 2, I wanted to just mention how much it's important that they talk about rates. Every time on the SAT, you're going to see something about a rate. And so 7 is to 400 as something is to 20,000. This is a calculator section, so you could have just cross-multiplied, but I do like that this student just knew that 400 times 50 was the 20,000, so 7 times 50 gave them the answer, and that is quicker to do it that way than try to use your calculator. So don't think you always have to use your calculator. When you're in number 3, you're really just saying that the words L is 73. So you're obviously just taking L and plugging in a 73. So you're going to be doing that a lot through an SAT test, knowing that you have to read through what they give you and plug it in. So this really wasn't too bad to start. I didn't copy every question down, but I do have a couple pages here with the ones you guys suggested we go over. Number 7, I love. That was the one I wanted to go over. If you want to look at the x-intercepts, you really just want this in factored form. This is how you find zeros if you wanted to use the quadratic formula, but you can save time when you remember x-intercepts are when y is 0. So to set this equal to 0, you do have to remember that you are solving. By quadratic formula, absolutely, but always try to factor first. It's quicker. I saw someone had a question mark on 8 when they showed their work, but they didn't actually put it into the discussion as a question. But I do want to mention that for number 8, it's more, again, of reading. The K is your points. You lose 2 points for each task. Okay, and as you plug in your 200 and 100, you can solve for K. One of my favorites here is number 10. We just finished up doing composition in one of our other classes. So really, if you're looking at f of g of 3, do not forget you have to find g of 3 first. So g of 3 is 2. So once g of 3 is 2, you're actually finding f of 2, and then you're going back and saying f of 2 is 3. So that's how you can get your final answer. I don't really see any shortcuts there. All right, I'm going to move all the way to 15 next, and that would end up here. So 15, you're doing a little stoichiometry. The 580 million miles in 1 year, you're multiplying by a ratio that there's 365 days in a year so that the years will cross out. And then you're multiplying by the other ratio that a day is 24 hours, so the days cross out. So basically, as long as on a calculator you're mindful that the 580 million, you're dividing by the quantity of 365 times 24. Make sure you're putting them together in parentheses or dividing them each separately, or maybe your calculator's fancy enough that you don't have to worry about it. Anything else on this page? I will say 16 just to make sure people realize that what is the probability that the person chosen did not take a review course. But you also have to remember, if one of the surveyed graduates who passed the bar is chosen, you have to actually pick someone who passed the bar first. And so that's this amount of people. This is that 25, okay? So from the 25 people, only 7 is the answer to did not take the course. I do like how 17, you're talking about percents here. Atomic weight of an unknown element is, so I'm going to say the unknown element is equals in math, 20% less than calcium. So if you're 20% less, you're 80% of calcium. So this was one way to do it. Obviously, knowing which value is 20% could work for you here and get your answer. But if you don't really want to have to worry too much and just take the statement and make it into an equation, to be 20% less means you are 80%. And since it said the calcium is 40, you are just taking 80% of 40. So that's a little quicker there, something I want you all to appreciate. All right, I'm going to move on to 19. 19, I was like, what do you mean you have a question on what the median number of sibling is? But I can see here you're not just lining up, what is it, 300 for 2 schools, so that you're not lining up 600 pieces of data. That's ridiculous. And seeing which one's in the middle. So for 600 pieces of data, you're really looking for the 300th and the 301st, basically in between them. So this person knew that there was already 260 people that had no siblings. And there's another 190 that have one sibling, which takes you to 450. So you're already beyond the 300th student at that point. So that's why you know the answer is 1, because the 300th student would have had the one sibling. Again, I'm just moving on, but showing you the answer key to all of these. As we try to finish up, 22 here, I do like that this person took the original equation and then multiply both sides by the denominator to try to bring it up and solve for r squared, because it does say the square of the distance. So here you have to know distance is r, and that's what's happening. For 23, there were a couple people solving it a couple different ways. What I did for 23, basically, is I did take the statement that the 1p over 4 pi with the r for the a person squared was 16 times the second person, which was r sub b squared. So if you do clean that up, I don't know if black's going to be easier to see. If you clean that statement up, you'll notice the p's go away, the pi's are on both sides. You know, I actually did not reduce anything else, so I left it as, over here, 1 over 4 r sub a squared equals 4 over r sub b squared. And that's just cleaning up the 16 over 4 as a 4. Then I cross-multiplied and saw that if I square root both sides, RA is going to be 1/4 of RB once I divide both sides by 4, or multiply both sides by 1/4. So RA is 1/4 of RB. So that's another way to do it. This is also drawn as a picture. Now the other thing I want to spend some time on is 24. You're looking at a circle. Finally somebody asked for help on this one. 24, you want to make sure you are in HK form. Okay, this very important formula, which hopefully you can still see after I highlight it. That's what you're trying to do here. So notice the x squared and the 4x. Here, I'll make this nice and big here. The x squared and the 4x are right here. You need to come up with a 4 to make a perfect square trinomial, and that's what half of b squared does for you. Then you have your y squared and your minus 2y, which is right here. So if you take half of that negative 2 and square it, you get 1. That's this number. So basically, you've created a 5. By putting this 4 and this 1 here, you now have a 5 that you have to balance the equation and put on the other side. And the negative 1 was already there, okay? So basically, you now have your equation in HK form with the radius. So that's something that is in the Passport to Advanced Math that I do want you guys to be able to work on and do yourself. So again, once you come up with half of 4 squared is 4, and you come up with half of negative 2 is negative 1 squared is 1, you take these answers and you add them to the other side. And that should leave you with this equation in the correct form. That would be a 1, sorry. And the radius squared is 4, so the radius is 2. So that's something you should be practicing as well. Besides that, the last couple questions that came up were here, 29. I really feel like you do have to start by plugging in 3 for y here. And then you're just plugging in all the a and b values till you find the one that gives you one solution. And that one solution, of course, was using the -2 with the 4. Not to get one solution. I am looking at that wrong. To get, that is to get no, that's one solution. What is the question asking? I'm sorry. Oh, to have exactly 2. So these are 2 solutions. They're just not pretty. They're irrational. But that's how you get your 2 solutions, by plugging them in and seeing what gives you imaginary and whatnot. Number 30, I looked at it myself again. If you don't know this shortcut, it's going to take a little bit of effort, but with the area of an equilateral triangle, it's really not that bad that you have 6 of those and you solve. And instead of a's, you were putting s's here. So s times s is s squared, which is what you solved for. So without that shortcut, though, I will say you're going to have to appreciate that you're drawing this down here to make, and again, since they should all be 60s, you now have the fact that one triangle is this number divided by 6. So one triangle is 64√3. And that really is representing, let's say this is S, then you know this is S over 2. So this should be S over 2√3 because of the 30, 60, 90 properties. And so 64√3 is 1/2 base times height. And actually that's where that formula s squared √3 over 4 comes in. So I did want to show you that. So it is possible to just derive it yourself very quickly, or you have memorized it from a geometry class. And let's see, 36, the 60-degree angle. If you draw this line across here, splits into 2 30-degree angles because of the word tangent. You had to appreciate the word tangent was given, and the reason why that is you can make 90-degree angles. So once you know you have your 30, 60, 90 here, the total of these 2 angles is 120, and 120 is 1/3 of a circle, so obviously you're doing 1/3 of 96. Not bad once you know that the angle measures make up 1/3 of the circle. And then finally, the last 2 I'll leave for you here to look at. Nicely written out. This year was 3,000. It was put in 3 places. You got an answer. So then you do it again, but you put the 3150 in those 3 places, and you get your answer. And then here you're working backwards to solve for k. Any other questions, let me know.